Getting elected, a walk in the park, and now the marathon really begins.
The Republicans may have swept up the midterms, but they've got plenty of messes that they have to work on right now.
The housing crisis, health care reform, taxes, three critical issues weighing heavily on the future of the U.S. economy. So how did last night's midterms affect their fate?
Let's bring in an all-star team for some answers. Former HUD Secretary Henry Cisneros and former New York Lieutenant Governor Betsy McCoy. And along with that, NFL Hall of Famer and small business guru Fran Tarkenton. Mr. Secretary, I'll begin with you first. What do the Republicans have to do? You, of course, have served on the Democratic side during tough times as well.
Well, I think the Republicans will offer plans that comport with what they heard from the people last night and what they've campaigned on. And that will create a different dynamic with the White House and with the Senate. And they're not in position to push things through that they want, but they are in position to keep things from happening. And I think you'll find the President and the Senate meeting them in the middle. I think there's a potential that some good progress could come out of this. Now, on the other hand, there are very tough problems that are not easily resolvable, like the deficit. You can't solve the deficit problem and the debt problem in the United States without some taxes, because you can't get it all out of cuts. We're going to find that the campaign rhetoric that says, well, just cut and cut and cut some more is not enough to get you to debt reduction. So they're going to have to meet in the middle, and hopefully that will happen.
Fran Tarkenton, you know, it's not only the national debt, it's the state debt. Every state has a huge debt that they have to face. We saw what happened with Chris Christie. He's trying to cut like crazy. A lot of promises, even Democrats like Andrew Cuomo, who's the governor-elect in the state of New York, has promised not to raise taxes at all. Zero. That's his pledge. Can he do it? Because he's going to have to cut even more than what Chris Christie, a Republican, is cutting.
Well, first of all, this election was not about the Republicans. This is about Main Street USA. Out here where I live, the small business community, we said, Mr. President, we don't agree with your agenda. We don't think you know better what's better for us than we do. We don't want more government. We don't want more taxes. 50% of the adults in this country do not pay taxes. We've got a broken tax system. Why doesn't somebody understand that? This is the revenue engine of America, and it's broken. We need tax reform.
Will the Republicans change the status of that and make those 50%, 48-50, start paying taxes? Will they have the guts to do that?
I would hope so, but I don't believe they will. We out here in Main Street, outside of Washington, outside of New York, we don't trust the politicians. We think their agenda is to get reelected. And I don't think the Republicans, I wish they would, but I don't think they're going to be any better. And I don't think they're going to go out and make the tough decisions of tax reform, cut the debt, deal with this spending spree that we're on. I don't think they will do it at the level they need to do it.
Betsy, there's a lot of skepticism. Well, I mean, I'm in New York, and I'm skeptical of politicians. I grew up in D.C., and I don't trust the guys. Nevertheless, I mean, there have been a lot of promises. Republicans have promised to repeal Obamacare, which you hold in your hands, as you always do. If they certainly can't do it with the Democratic president, Democratic Senate,
no,
but can they starve it of funding?
Yes, and that's the key. The trouncing of House Democrats was, in good measure, a repudiation of Obamacare. As you know, about 55% of likely voters said they were supporting a candidate who pledged to repeal, and yet you can't until 2013, if then, when a new president takes office. But the House Republicans can starve this beast. This law...
by shutting down government, though, and that's a very unpopular thing to do,
every year Congress has to appropriate money, and the Constitution says it has to start in the House. So House Republicans can say, okay, we forbid any of this money to be used to pay to write the regulations that the Secretary of Health and Human Services has to write. We refuse to let any of this money be used to pay the IRS agents that are supposed to track you down if you violate this law. We refuse to let any of this money be used to establish state insurance exchanges. So virtually they can take this 2,600-page law and turn it into a pile of papers.
Okay, will that be popular, though, Mr. Cisneros? Because already you're starting to hear some people say, wait a minute, keep in the part where my kids can stay on till they're 26, and keep in the part where insurance companies can't cut me off if I get sick.
I go back to my point a moment ago. I think you're going to see some meeting in the middle, and you're going to find that even those Republicans who were elected with the toughest mandate will not want to roll back things like pre-existing conditions and will not want to roll back things like children staying on insurance until they can get on their own insurance and so forth. And so there will be some provisions. In fact, in his press conference earlier, the president talked about the burden for small business.
Yes.
So you're going to find some revisions here, I think, coming from the administration and the Senate, but some key provisions of this health care package. Nobody wants to repeal them because they were tough to put in and they're the right thing.
Fran, Tarkenton, one thing that nobody wants, except the folks inside the Beltway, seems, are tax increases on anybody. In light of the recession that many people think we are still in with unemployment this high, do you think any tax hikes will go in?
Well, they're talking about let's tax the rich, which means let's tax the small business entrepreneur who are producing the jobs. It's about like saying, you know, who you want to invest in? Oprah Winfrey, one of the great businesswomen in the world, or give the money to the government and let them waste more? That's what we're talking about.
Betsy,
we need
literally
unbelievable reform.
Betsy.
I'm concerned that the old guard Republicans aren't going to live up to what the voters demanded. They voted against incumbents, not just Democrats, and yet I hear Boehner saying he's going to put the same old guard into the
going to be the next
key
Speaker of the House,
chairmanships,
probably.
and that means we're not going to cut spending the way the public wants Congress to cut it.
All right. Henry Cisneros, former HUD Secretary, Fran Tarkenton, chairman and founder of Tarkenton.com, and Betsy McCoy, former New York Lieutenant Governor. Thanks to you all.
Thank you.
Coming up, what happens if the Tea Partiers really get there?